I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking your phone up. Why you messing my head up? Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying yeah, 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 yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe. Cause you're all that I crave.
Hi.
So
Welcome to Therapy Rebranded, where we're consistently inconsistent.
Ding. Oh my God, the best part of the whole show. I get a little tingle every time we do it.
It's only for you.
It's literally only for me. I hope everybody knows that. Nobody requests it. We didn't get mad feedback that it was good. It's just for me.
Nobody's ever said it was good, actually.
No, nobody.
That's all right.
She loves me.
All right, let's start with Reddit.
Okay.
This is a therapy subreddit. I found out my client's husband is sleeping with someone I know. Advice wanted. I'm friendly, but not super close with this person, the affair partner, but close enough that this girl happened to come up in a group conversation as a girl talk. She showed us pictures and I recognized him immediately. Client has reoccurring insecurities around her husband cheating, but has never had any solid evidence. The person in question has been open about having an incurable STI. It's part of the reason why she shares so openly about her dating life, because she struggled to find a decent partner, and apparently now she has. She has no idea that he's married and she's over the moon. I have no idea if they're using protection and I don't know where to go from here. What ethical responsibilities do I have towards my client? This is such a messy and difficult situation. So you're a therapist, you're giving somebody therapy. They literally are going crazy because they're being gaslit internally. And you not only know that they're not wrong, but that their physical health is in safety, is in jeopardy.
Well, first you talk to your supervisor. That's what they tell you to do. Go consult. Yo. Well, first of all, so I read a comment on this that was like, you don't have a HIPAA ethical obligation to your friend. So there is no, you actually can tell your friend that they're being cheated on.
Who? The girl who thinks she's in a relationship or your client?
The girl who thinks she's in a relationship.
Okay, so if you sat down with the person, if I was like, hey, look, this new guy I'm dating, and then it was,
my client is fucking that guy.
That's, yes.
And he also has an STD.
I have an STD in the story.
You have an STI in the story.
Not in real life.
Not in real life.
In the story.
In the story.
And I'm like, yo, I met this guy. He's so awesome. It's got to be herpes. He's so supportive of herpes.
Right.
Blah, blah,
and
blah.
you were really excited because you were nervous about people accepting you and all these
he's
things.
a great guy.
Yes.
And then you, on the other hand, have this secret, which is that your client is also dating him. HIPAA does say you can't tell me. Because you're breaking confidentiality with your client if you tell me.
I don't think I would say anything.
To anybody. So when your client comes to session next week and she's like,
I have an incurable STI.
I'm feeling crazy because I think I just made up that my husband's cheating on me. And I think this is connected to my childhood trauma. And he's convinced me I'm kind of crazy.
I forgot it was cheating.
I think what I would do if that was happening continuously is I might end the relationship with my client. And maybe that's the cue.
Well, that's what I was going to say, but I felt like that was not ethical. Is ending the relationship, is that client abandonment? Because of something personal, not telling them explicitly why, but saying I can't work with you because there is something that I can't tell you, but there is a conflictual relationship here. I don't, what do you say? Because I think you actually do ethically have to give a reason. Otherwise, I think it's considered client abandonment.
So guys, client abandonment is basically that we have an ethical responsibility to not leave somebody high and dry. So if you're seeing somebody in therapy and you feel like they need that support, you either have to find them somebody else to meet with, or you have to figure out how to support them. Then that includes if they can't pay.
Also, I think if somebody's health is at risk, I feel like there's something about that. There's a clause, there's if you knew that somebody was in imminent danger, their health was, I think you could. Do you not think you could break it?
I'm sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. I just like to think of me having sex with someone and going, oh, that woman's in imminent danger.
I mean, because of getting an STI. That's what I mean. Your health, not because of the
Even
relationship.
That, yeah.
But I think that counts. I don't know, though. I don't know for sure. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, you got to say, like, definitive decision, go. What are you doing?
I'm telling eventually. I'm figuring out a way.
To tell the client
Yeah.
and the person, or just the client?
Just the client.
Is that because you guys know they're related? Because, like, from my view as an outsider, maybe I missed something because I came in there to adjust
For my
the
best
camera.
friend, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, what? So you know their relationship? Like,
You-
you know that they
like,
don't have
I'm
an
the
open
one
relationship?
person-
Yeah, because you're their therapist.
As a
and they're-
therapist?
and they're
Just making
telling
sure.
they're telling you that they think they're being cheated on.
Oh, and he's sitting there, and you know he's
Because I haven't.
He's
I-
not sitting there. You're not seeing him. You're
So-
just seeing her.
been... Okay.
The
Yeah.
reason that I said I think that I would eventually have to tell is because I've been in a client situation not at all like this, but when I brought it to my supervisor, they were like, "Yes, you need to end the relationship with this client."
Mhm.
Like, and they were like, "Well, you could." I actually was leaning towards not like mentioning why,
Mhm.
and they were like, "No, you should be transparent about it."
Okay.
I guess that's why, but I don't actually know what the right thing to do is.
Also, plot twist, you don't have any proof that he's
Right.
cheating except
Right.
for this woman's word, and we know how women act.
Right.
What? Imagine you break up with your client and she doesn't even believe you. And
Right.
she doesn't even change anything about the relationship, and then she lost her support as a therapist.
I know.
50-50 chance.
It is a 50-50
Mhm.
chance.
That's a coin flip.
It absolutely is, because you have to have a level of lying to yourself already to have somebody think. If you're with someone who has somebody else thinking they're in a relationship, two people are in a relationship, if you're the main partner, the person being lived with, you have to have some kind of lie to yourself. 'Cause
Yeah.
where is that person spending all their time?
And, like, can you imagine being the guy where it's like she's asked you, you can tell she's insecure about it, but you still just keep trucking.
I mean, you could do work around like, trying to urge her. That's a little bit manipulative, but it's like trying to urge her to trust her instincts or like fill out her own stuff. Like maybe there's enough that she's giving you that you can like, I don't know. If you really wanted to be that avoidant about it and like not ever break up with her, not ever break up with the client.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a mistake I would make.
I don't know.
So you've landed on you're going to tell the client. Yeah.
I think so.
All right, on to the next one.
What about you, Javae? Did you say?
Did I say?
No.
I don't think so.
Oh, I think I would break up with the client and I would say that I'm connected to her husband in a way I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
I would break up with the client. Give a little breadcrumb.
That bitch would never stop hounding you
Oh,
the rest of your life.
Wait, so that's what I was gonna say is I worry about somebody like coming after my license, like vindictively or something. Like
And saying what?
I mean, it might not be, but it's just like a hassle. Like
And saying what? I told the truth.
Yeah, and you broke up with them.
And I'm going to say what
You
I
did the ethical
say
thing.
to everyone, which is that if I actually don't tell people when I know they're being cheated on. I'm going to be totally honest. I've known before that people I know are being cheated on. I don't tell them. Because the times that I've told, even my best friends,
You told me.
they don't immediately break up with them. And then
Oh,
I get punished by
You're
the
the bad
partner and the girl.
Yep. No, it's a no-win.
And the only reason that I told Rachel she was being cheated on is because I had video or picture evidence. If I didn't
Sure.
have picture evidence, I wouldn't have told you.
You would have held it.
Why did you?
I'm not
sorry,
offended.
It's hard not to ask. Well, how did you have picture evidence of it?
I
Are you
had
a
picture
PI?
evidence because it's not live
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So if you
yeah.
change your mind, but I had picture evidence. Okay, this was actually a really hard decision for me because I was gonna tell you,
She did a beautiful job.
but I also knew that this was a huge risk because were super serious.
Okay. That's
Okay.
what I was gonna say.
They were
Okay.
super serious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set the setting, please.
Like as serious
what their
as it
dynamic
gets.
was, all that stuff. This is fascinating.
Without
Okay. The
kids.
dynamic is I met Rachel when she was in the relationship, so I'm already backseat. When I met her, they were living together. That's how serious they
Right.
were.
I forget that.
They'd already been together for like 3 years when I met her.
Yeah.
It was very
Yeah.
quickly after we became friends, he left him.
Mhm.
Oops. So
2 years later, it didn't take long.
So they were having problems in their relationship, but there was no cheating problems. You were not. Even if I would even ask a question about it, you would immediately shut it down.
Like, I
Like
couldn't
that
even
is
hear it.
not happening in our relationship.
I couldn't even hear it.
I was like, okay. So, and I had already thought he was cheating on you because he all of a sudden got this job where he was working all the time and he just doesn't have a good work ethic. And so to me, I was already like, you're not at work all the time. That was my personal opinion. I'd fished about it. Rachel didn't bite, so I dropped it. Rachel was out of town for a weekend, and I have another close friend who's single. And she was like, is this Rachel's boyfriend on Tinder? And he was active. Like, it showed that he was active. So she sent screenshots to me. And I was like, oh, this actually makes sense that he would be this bold because she was actually at, like, all their mutual friends were also out of town with Rachel. They were at, like, a girls' trip.
And all my other friends are, like, in relationships. So, like, nobody I would care about would be on Tinder. And
it was just because of location. Actually, my friend worked near their apartment. And so...
So crazy.
I sent her a screenshot, which I did do one thing wrong. I sent her a screenshot, like, during the workday, which was, like...
But I had just... So you might not have known, though, because at the same time, I had landed back from the trip and went
straight to work. I didn't know she was going to work.
Yeah, that was like...
I was like, oh, she's off because she's flying home this day.
Right. And I just chose to go to work early as fuck.
How long did you sit on the info that you had it?
I sat on it for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
Okay,
she told me immediately.
So
I was driving.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's...
So I sent it to her, and I learned from previous... The fact that I was even telling her meant a lot for me personally, because I don't tell.
I know.
And I had learned from previous situations that you have to give women an out or they turn on you. So I sent her all the screenshots, and what I basically said was like, I saw this on Tinder. I don't know if this is old. I don't know if you guys are open. You don't have to tell me what you're going to do with this. This could be fake. I have no idea. I just feel responsible to tell you. Do whatever you want. I don't need to hear the follow-up. And...
you just laid the template down. That's a really good way to do it.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm saying. She did a beautiful job. And I like came over later. Like,
because I want people to have their dignity.
Yeah. You got to give them those outs.
Yeah. You do. And so she called me hysterical. So I was like, okay, so you didn't know. And then
and I chose to go to work.
He denied it.
He gaslit me for like 6 hours.
For 6 hours until she didn't come home that night.
It was excruciating.
Oh, that Shaggy song did a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then I came home and immediately he switched and apologized and like copped to it. And like it was the first time I ever saw him cry, and it like did nothing for me.
As it shouldn't.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was not real.
That's a type of cheating, just like from a guy who has cheated a fair amount in his life. Even I never did anything that level. Like to me, that really is brazen on a level that is like. Hard to understand.
Used his real name and his face.
And said it was a fake. Said somebody was impersonating him.
It must have been so hard to like read his verbiage, like his bio and stuff like that.
I didn't even it wasn't even.
It was gone.
Yeah.
The second
that I confronted him about it was gone.
So.
Wow.
But the first time I told someone that they got cheated on, I didn't give them that out, and they flipped on me, and they tried to maintain our friendship, that our friendship petered out, but they tried to give me an out too, and they were like, I believe you that you think the evidence, because I also had picture evidence. I believe you that you think the picture evidence you have is real, but it's not, and the girl who gave it to you is plotting against our relationship. So she tried to let me out of it, but I ultimately lost respect for her, and then the guy that she was with spent the rest of their relationship, they were together for like another 3 years, like planting seeds to be like, Javae's always rooted against us. Javae never liked us. Javae blah, blah, blah.
So you fixed their relationship.
They broke up. He left her for somebody else 3 years later because they both gained weight together, and then he lost weight, and then he left her. Yeah. They literally gained 100 pounds each, and then he lost all that weight, and she didn't, and he left her within 6 months.
Yeah. That's the way the world works, unfortunately.
Honestly, it's my dad as fuck.
I wish it wasn't that way, guys. I wish I could change it.
Oh my God, I have something to talk about in therapy next
week. But I can't fucking raise my level and then have you stay down in the basement. I'm sorry.
Okay. I am 39-year-old female having an abortion, and he's a 39-year-old male, thinks I'm doing it in an act of revenge. My heart is swollen with pain in my chest. Sad day. We found out that we were pregnant a month ago. We have longed for this since forever. I really thought I was the happiest and luckiest woman on earth. I thought he loved me. A week ago, we decided to tell our loved ones, and of course, we were showered with congratulations from everyone. One of them stuck out. She wrote on his IG that she was happy for us and what had changed since the hard times we had. What hard times? ? Ooh. What hard times? I replied, and she deleted the comment. Ugh, it made my stomach churn. My husband called me within 3 minutes. He sounded flustered and was pretending to check on me. I just asked him why he called me minutes after she deleted her weird comment. He didn't even pretend to be confused and just told me to ignore her and that she was a liar. I asked what did she lie about?
Oh my God, I'm just like...
All she said was the hard times.
Lying bitch says that we're having hard times and we are not.
Man as fuck.
I asked him if there was something between them and he told me to please listen and not to believe anything she said. I knew it was over. I left work early and packed a small bag and left for my parents. He had been trickle-truthing me this entire week. Trickle-truthing me needs to be coined.
Yeah.
You know when someone's lying and they just literally, they give you bits and pieces of the truth. You never get the full truth, but they just keep giving you more and more pieces of the truth because they're hoping that next little drop is going to satisfy you to stop fucking asking. Like, they're like, how bad do I have to admit to for you to drop this because I can't tell you the full truth?
My body hurts.
Ugh. They had an affair 4 years ago that lasted a month. He was so sorry and he loved me. I asked for a divorce. Now he says that I have broken him to get back at him because I'm having an abortion. It was worse than an affair and I am cruel. He loves me and our baby and I'm taking away both. He's not alone in this sentiment either, and it makes me even more resentful of everyone and everything around me. How did they all manage to turn the tables on me and make me out to be the wrong one? Just a week ago, I was the happiest wife and soon mother, and now I am nothing. How am I the villain in all of this?
Oof.
How is she the villain in all of this? Because she chose herself, and that's villainized.
She ruined everybody else's plan for the future.
Could you imagine posting your baby or your pregnancy or him posting your pregnancy and having women come out of the woodwork and comment shady comments she wanted her to know?
Yeah.
Also, 4 years ago is so unbelievable. She's still invested after 4 years and follows you and everything?
Yeah. Oh, this one is just like rocking my body. Just, girl, just leave them all in the dust. Just all of them.
Are you surprised she had an abortion? She's 39.
A little bit.
I think she's full of shit in some way. Because she used the word longing. The fuck you use the word longing, like for real. Like, and I'm serious.
39-year-old
it's
white
like
woman,
posing.
I don't know.
Longing.
I
was longing.
I know that
so
the
much
fact
more.
that she, I mean, maybe she really didn't want to be a single mom. That was like not part of her fucking plan. But I don't know if I would have done it. But I'm not judging or trying not to.
I think the fact that this comment made her stomach drop lets me know that she felt some type of way before that. Because I think that is a comment that could be blown off as like, I knew your friend was kind of jealous or I knew that girl was kind of weird or whatever. So the fact that it cued to her that it was over, I feel like
abusive before.
Or like at least you thought he was cheating. Like this is confirmation of something you already thought. Because this is very rapid movement.
Classic guy lie too. I mean, you nailed that, Javae. Like the whole 4 years, all that means is like, last time I fucked her was like 6 months ago. And like we still flirt and like she sucked the cake off my finger in the break room at work just last week.
She sends me nudes.
Yeah, but you do the half lie, like
she sucked the cake off of my finger.
Yeah, I got a little bit.
I started copying to a lesser lie at like 7. Like this is 101. This is 101. This is like when I got caught smoking weed in high school.
Never get off that train.
This is when I got caught smoking weed in high school and I said I'd smoked weed twice before. Why? Because one's not believable.
Yeah, nobody's
And you know what? I knew my mom wanted it to be a low number. I knew she wanted to believe me. It didn't even be a convincing story because that's what she wanted to be true.
We have to move on before I start telling stories.
I think, the copying to a lesser lie is the strategy.
Always, no matter what.
That's why I personally, if I caught someone cheating, could never believe the story they told me.
Right. It's always more.
It's always more. I was actually thinking how a couple of Valentine's days ago, I was in a relationship with someone who was cheating on me. And we weren't living together, but I thought of how he played that Valentine's Day, and it was so smooth. The cheating was superb.
Give that nigga an award.
Gotta tip your
Give
cap.
him
What
an
do you do?
award. Valentine's Day was on a Sunday. He spent all day Saturday. We went out to dinner Saturday night. We went to brunch Sunday morning. We spent the whole day together. And then I had stuff to do in the evening, and he left. And then that girl was like, oh, she got Valentine's Day dinner. But I felt satisfied because I actually
You got
wanted him to go
tons of
because I
time.
had stuff to do and I had tons of time.
And it's a Sunday night.
And it's a Sunday night. And I was when I was working a job that I had
Yep.
to be there at 8.
You got the more fun time.
I got the, fucking genius. All right, last one, go.
Okay.
But you're the villain because you chose yourself. But honestly, it's very clear you didn't want to be in that relationship. You were iffy about the baby. You made the right call.
Get gone, girl.
And he's a 39-year-old man. He can start over. He's totally good. He could have a baby in 3 years.
Mhm.
He'll be fine. Fuck him.
No expiration date.
Thanks. Okay. My girl is so incredible, yet so broken. I don't know what to do. I, 25-year-old male, have been with my girl, 22-year-old female, for about 5 months now, and I love this girl so much. The highs have been amazing, but the lows hurt so much. She is so broken, tons of childhood trauma, etc., and has never been truly loved. And I try to be so patient with her and show her what it's like when someone truly loves you, but anytime something happens, she just completely shuts down and turns so cold, it's almost like I don't even know who this person is. She's been trying to change that, and I see how hard she's trying, but she still does it sometimes, and it really fucks me up mentally, like I'm 9 months into recovery from a drug addiction that took everything from me to the last 6 years, and I'm not thinking of relapsing or anything, but when she goes into these dark holes,
I'm thinking of relapsing.
Literally. I was like, it just really breaks my heart and burns me out mentally. So, never mind.
Pause, before you go any further in this. Not him being broken, talking about her being broken. I'm not saying she's not broken, but you were an addict for 6 years. It was all consuming, and don't even have a year sober, and you're putting everything into this girl.
I'm gonna finish, but it literally is like when women get sick, or like what cancer, isn't it like there's a statistic like men never stick through it?
Yeah.
They never stick through it. And they might be the shittiest person. Like they just don't stick. It doesn't matter how good. They just can't. I'm not thinking of relapsing or anything, but when she goes into these dark holes, it just really breaks my heart and burns me out mentally. I love this girl to death and would do anything for her, but the stress and strain on my emotions is killing me and I don't know what to do. Also, she can also be the most thoughtful, loving, and caring woman ever. It's just whenever something happens, she just totally flips a switch and turns so cold. Any advice would be appreciated. Love is hard. Go to therapy.
Break up. Break up.
You should go to personal therapy. You should break it up.
I think that he wants to relapse.
Yeah.
This is not a setup for success at all. Or the only thing that's keeping him sober is putting all of his energy and attention into this relationship. He was 4 months sober when they got together. And he also, I don't think you can know somebody after 5 months.
No, and you're 25 and she's 22. Like, it's just not giving your brain is just not there, bud. You're just not fully developed enough for all this, for drugs and love and all this stuff.
When you talk about her childhood trauma, what do you think it is? I was actually going to say drug addiction, drug addicted dad or mom, because why are you with somebody that's 5 months sober? And it doesn't sound like an alcoholic. It doesn't sound like somebody who is functioning through their addiction the way he talked about it.
That's true.
It's not like he has his shit together.
Yeah, y'all got to break up.
I got to say, though, in my whole life, I don't think I've ever heard or referred to a girl as, like, broken, which is a really sad thing to say that I've said. You know, like, I'm not necessarily proud of that in this moment, but never would I say that about someone who just had an alcoholic dad. Or just because you're aware of that because of your experiences with it, I think. But, like, I don't think that to most guys that they would view that as, like, a black mark on your character at all. Not that black mark's the right way to characterize
no,
abuse,
but I do think they start to like create kind of like a perception of you or certain. I think that some men do see it as like a.
He's not saying that her trauma is the problem. He's saying that he's using it as an excuse. And I feel like there's plenty of men who, when they want to make excuses for women, go back to their daddies. And they're like, she just has daddy issues.
Exactly. They use it against
the behavior is probably the black mark. He said she goes hot and cold. So I'm guessing she ghosts him or ice him out or does something really unkind when she's not interested or angry. And he sounds codependent. So it's probably physically painful. You know what I mean? Like when you're codependent, it's physically painful when
somebody pulls away from you.
Correct. And when you know that you're not going to break up and that person's constantly pulling away from you, you have that back and forth, it starts to feel like a game.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel real. It's one thing when you truly are like the first time or two they do it and you're like, oh, this is authentic and this is real. And then when it becomes a pattern, you start to behave and feel like, wait, maybe this isn't actually authentic and real. And maybe this is a game. I don't think he's gotten there yet, but I think he will if he stays with her.
That, and I think too, we act like our brains get hooked in. Like, I forget what, you might remember what what part of your brain it is or what gets released in your brain, but it's the same part that like sugar like highlights your brain and trauma and all this stuff. But the push pull like gets intoxicating for you. Like it's part of like what makes your system kind of light up. And people don't realize like you have to do something different. Like continuing to do the same thing is just actually feeding your system.
Well, it's also kind of why gambling is so addicting, because it's when you hit sometimes is the most addicting. When you win sometimes is the most addicting thing. That's why people are constantly checking our phones, because we get a dopamine hit when we get a notification or a message. But that's not happening constantly. So that's why we're being pulled to check, because it's a hit when there is something, we're looking for that and we're craving it because we don't get it all the time. It is a dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Is that similar to trauma bonding, what you're saying, or not really?
People, I think it is, but I think I used to think it was, but a trauma bond, I guess, is only between an abuser and the person that they're abusing.
Oh, okay.
And is like people have kind of managed the term to be like, we are bonding over our shared trauma, when in actuality, like maybe that could be it, I guess. But I guess the original definition is like an abuser and abusee bonding and like having a real relationship. Like that's a trauma bond.
It's more about like, so the thing that creates the reason why people in marriages, oftentimes there's not a lot of sexual chemistry, is because there's no obstacles to sex. There's nothing that's creating that pull and that tension that makes it more intense. That's why when you're getting a divorce, it's the best sex you'll ever have, because you're not supposed to be doing it. There's a huge obstacle and barrier. It's wrong.
Well, it's like when you're first dating, you aren't together all the time. You have to, it's like, when will we, when won't we? It's like that kind of guessing game. You're completely right.
And so like the fact that there's obstacles to getting attention is creating, I think, this relationship for him personally with getting positive attention is creating a high. It's creating that feeling because the obstacle there is her investment. And so when that obstacle goes away, he's really, really excited. And a lot of that has to do with winning. He's winning something. He's getting something. He's conquering something. He's having this thing that in his gut he knows is temporary, and it makes it better.
Yeah. Ugh. It's the chase.
It is the chase. Anyways, how are you?
We haven't checked in yet.
No. Our mental health check-in.
No, we haven't done that. How am I doing? I'm exhausted because tired isn't a feeling. And I'm feeling stressed. I'm a little burnt out. But I'm going out of town this weekend, and it'll be nice to kind of step away.
Oh, will it? Will it be rejuvenating to go be with your family?
It won't be rejuvenating in that way, but it might be rejuvenating because of the weather. And I'm really excited to see my brother, actually.
That'll be a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think mostly like there's like work stress in the background. How about you?
I'm feeling really bitter. Like, bitter. Like, don't say happy birthday to your grandma, bitter.
Ooh,
like
say
just
that shit with your chest. Tell us more.
I'm just feeling. So I've had this loop in my head for a long, long time. I'm just feeling this like kind of pull to one of my family members, because they're constantly telling me that I'm not doing enough. And I cycle constantly through, fuck you, I am doing enough, to like, maybe I'm not, and I'm going to try to do the things you want me to do. Like I've kind of been cycling. And they talk badly about me to other family members. And it's very triggering when they do that. And I had this realization these last couple weeks that the reason why this family member is on a campaign against me is not because they want to be connected and they're genuinely hurt. It's because I know something about them that nobody else in the entire world knows. Because me, them, and my dad spent the worst years of my life together. And she was a terrible caregiver, a terrible support person. That house was awful. They didn't take care of me. They neglected me. And she's been on the offense ever since then to prove to everyone in our family, before I even ever share anything about that experience, that I'm ungrateful and there's things wrong with me and I'm off. And I finally realized, I was like, this is all about your ego, because my dad's not alive. It's just me who knows. And so like when everybody around you is looking like, why aren't you connected to Javae? You're answering that question ahead of time before it even comes out, by being like, because Javae sucks. And it finally clicked for me. And I have a real bitterness about it, because I have been working so hard for something that just like was not achievable.
Mhm.
It was never going to happen.
It's working your ass off.
It was never going to happen. And the only times I ever got treated well when I was eating shit. And it was probably because she didn't feel insecure.
They were never going to give it to you.
She didn't feel insecure about what I was going to say or what I was going to do. And I just saw all these posts from the community about how good of a person she is and all the things she does outside of her home. And I'm just like, you really do have a reputation to protect. And it finally clicked for me. And sweat, bitch, because I can't air your dirty laundry out if I want to. I'm not going to, but I could. And so I'm just feeling this real, like it's finally made sense for me. And I'm actually angry that it's not about me. I would rather it be about me.
Right.
Or rather it be about our relationship and anger you feel towards me because we're not connected. Because that's what I've been telling myself because it sounded better than this shit. And I'm just like, how many other relationships am I dragging myself through because I'm lying to myself about their motivation? I'm done. Gave up. Done. So I'm just like sitting in my bitterness.
Good.
And
it's like the word of like the month, I feel like.
I'm tired of pretending I'm not. Like, part of I feel like not caring about being liked is like being okay as being seen as bitter as a woman. I feel like that's like a scarlet letter to be bitter as a woman. And I'm like, I don't care.
You don't ever want to be jealous and you don't ever want to be bitter.
Ever.
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 Or insecure.
Right after we're shooting this after the bitterest day in the year though. Bitches are bitter on Valentine's Day.
And you had a good one.
I had a great one. But I'm on the internet like, ooh.
Niggas suck.
Yes.
That ain't shit still.
How did it feel to be single on V-Day? Well, you weren't alone.
I wasn't alone.
Not in a relationship.
Not in a relationship. It was like a non-Valentine's Day Valentine's Day. But I actually like have never really... It's fun. But I don't...
I gotta say this because I was like laughing like with
Please.
you at you, but
Please.
Rachel sends me a voice memo yesterday.
Oh.
And she's like, yo, I made this reservation at this nice restaurant 6 weeks ago because I just like thought maybe I'd have someone to go to.
But with
this.
a friend, I was supposed to go with Issa.
Lies!
No, I swear
You're
to God.
a liar.
No, which I would tell you. I wouldn't give a fuck. I made this weeks ago with Issa because late as fuck. I'm dead ass. I'll get her on the phone. I promise. I would call her right now. And then we both like called each other in the morning. We're like, yo, it's too fucking late. Like, we don't want to go. Like, I'm not going to be up that late. And there was somebody else who wanted to do things with me on that day. So either way, I was going to have better plans.
You liar.
But also, no, I swear to God. I've never done that before.
It wasn't desperate at all. It was just too hopeful.
But I made it with her is what I'm saying. I know. She won't believe me. It's okay.
Will someone just start dating her, please?
Anybody, please.
But I am dating. But I had a nice Valentine's Day. I ended up like spending a lot of the day by myself, which is fine. And I smoked and drank wine and cooked myself pasta. And then later on, I, did my thing. It was fun.
Love that for you.
I don't know what the did my thing was, but...
And somebody bought me shoes. It was great.
Who bought you shoes?
Gotta tell you off.
All right. Being single.
I know.
Having people pursue you and send you gifts on V-Day.
It's delightful.
Anyways, speaking of love, they dropped the first half of season 6, Love is Blind, last night.
Which I totally fucking missed.
Because they knew people are going to be single and sad. And so they wanted to hit their demographic. They want to hit their demographic. February 14th, dropping Love is Blind.
It didn't even connect for me, of course.
And I got through the first 5 episodes. There is a 6th one that I didn't watch, but they're like out of the pods now. They're in the position of where they're like on their honeymoon. And there was one love triangle that I wanted to talk about because it was so disappointing.
Why? Like you wanted more from it?
I was just like, it was so predictable. Like I was like, everyone in this is going to be disappointed as soon as this comes
Are they all
out.
white?
Yes. Gabe, will you pull up the picture of the 3?
I've got to come in. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Is this like the drama of the season? Is this what you're calling it?
So far.
Okay.
I think there's going to be more drama because there's this black couple that it's giving spicy, but nothing's happened yet.
Is there anybody that you really like? I have not watched it
people
yet, but
are
I'm
too
going
white
to.
too,
So, but now I'm like intrigued.
You what? You have to watch it. It's actually intriguing.
No. I started. I'm intrigued. But like, do you have a favorite so far? Or a least favorite? Is there somebody who you like detest? Like how
there was somebody I detested, but he didn't make it out of the pod.
Oh, he's terrible looking. Is he that bad looking on the show?
Brutal looking.
He's brutal looking.
That is what he looks like on the show.
They're both too hot for him, especially her. She's the one with a kid.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically what happens is he's hitting it off with both of them throughout the show, but the one who's hotter on the left is the one that
you didn't have to say which side. The one looks like she could take a punch from Mike Tyson, but yeah.
Gabe.
Well,
okay, this is a feminist show, we promise. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, guys.
It's certainly not a feminist show, but
fuck that shit.
it is, but you know what that means, so I can't say it. We can't do the...
I know.
It's like white feminism bullshit.
We have to do another episode. It's been a long time since we've done that. We should run
We
that
haven't
back.
done one on a good...
Yeah.
on our good studio to talk about
Yeah, we
what we
should
think
do it.
about
Okay.
feminism for real.
We'll
But
come
we'll
back.
do it another time.
Put a pin in that, guys.
Okay, so the one on the left and him are hitting it off at the beginning. Mind you, he doesn't know what they look like. They're hitting it off at the beginning. And then she waits until they build an attachment to tell him she has a kid, a 10-year-old. She's 27. He's
how
27.
many dates in? Like, how deep are they?
She's definitely his front runner by the time she tells him. And his response is like, why did you wait so long to tell me? And her response was, I wanted you to get to know me for me. Is that manipulative?
I think so, a little bit.
To get me to know me for me, I'm a package deal.
That part. And she said that like didn't she say that at the very, very beginning of like the first episode? Like, I want him to get to know me. And everybody kind of gave her weird looks.
I think she's the first person on the show who's had a kid.
Yeah, she is.
And so she's a teen mom also, 'cause she's 17. And so he immediately pulls back and starts being into the other girl. At the exact same time, the one that Gabe just so beautifully described
As hittable by Mike Tyson.
tells him that people say she looks like Megan Fox. And that she doesn't think so, but that's what people say. And that is only because of her eyes and her hair.
She's a brunette. Oh, I hate people so much.
So they go back and forth. They're all
the other
kinda
girl actually looks like Megan Fox.
ironic, right?
Ironic.
I want to watch this show so bad now.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, because you have to join in on the
I
shenanigans.
know.
Okay, continue.
So they're they're competing throughout the show. There's actually a fourth guy who we can pull up later, but he and Chelsea, so her name is Chelsea, the one on the right. Her name is Chelsea. Him and Chelsea are actually equally yoked and in size would have matched a lot better. And he was for her the entire time. But he did this really like authentic, kind thing that probably played against him in the long run, which is that he told her that he was all in for her and he only wanted her, which also I think made him less attractive.
Yeah.
And so she got wrapped up in competing for this guy over the other guy.
And she missed out.
And he didn't know until the day he told her he loved her that he was going to say he loved her or wanted her. He was going back and forth between her and the other girl, back and forth, back and forth. And he immediately got more into her when she said she looked like Megan Fox. Yep. They're going back and forth, back and forth. And he basically ultimately decides that he doesn't want the girl on the left because, one, she has a stronger personality. And she says that to him, like, you want someone who coddles you, basically. And he was like, I want someone submissive. Whatever that means. That means something different to every man who says it.
And racially, it's different.
Something different to every man who says it. So
yeah, that's true.
They he ends up dubbing her because they get into their first argument. He dubs her. He goes with Chelsea. Him and Chelsea meet in person. The first thing he says in the interview is she lied. She doesn't look like Megan Fox. He says that out loud to the camera.
That's gonna be a clip later on. That's
Clip
gonna come
it.
back. Clip it.
And then,
You're fucking kidding me.
but says she's pretty anyways. And they're doing the thing now. It's been like 24 to 48 hours. And they're doing the thing now where they're like, I like you so much. I like you too. I love you too. He's like, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. But he's like saying it to the point that it's unconvincing.
He's convincing
The
himself.
other thing is that the love triangle is still continuing.
Are they still talking?
They're not still talking, but he's talking about this other chick to Chelsea. Like the first night on honeymoon, he's like
messy.
sitting and telling her like all the things that the other girl did wrong. Telling him like,
He's
oh,
messy.
she got mad and she did this and this is why I picked you. He's still continuing the triangle, even though he, quote, chose Also, when she asked, "What do you like about me?" He had a really long pause, and he said, "Your big teeth."
Where the fuck does this guy get his confidence?
No, he didn't. You're lying. You just made that up. She just made that up. She just made that up.
I did.
You can't make that's
Does he make money?
insane.
I don't know.
He looks like a thumb.
If he was your client and like that was the story he just told you and like you got that same kind of air that we're getting, what would you do?
I would be like, my gut is telling me that you don't really like her. Am I making that up?
Am I making that up?
I say shit like that all the time to patients. I might be making this up.
Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm
Please.
stealing that.
'Cause
That's great.
Because what it gives me is that what it really was is he was totally okay. Also, I have to tell you, when he broke up with the girl on the left, the hotter of the two, she goes, "You're literally gonna choke on your air when you see both of us in person and who looks like what." She was like, "You're gonna need your EpiPen. It's gonna be hard to breathe because of how bad of a decision you made." And just starts ranting on him about how he's gonna regret it and basically that she's prettier than Chelsea.
Who said that?
The
Pretty
one on
one
the
said it?
yes, when he broke it off because they
she's so
haven't seen what
ugly
they look
inside.
like. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and then that kind of was what he was saying to Chelsea. Is like, well, your personality's better.
She relies on her
anyways.
looks a lot,
Yeah,
probably.
and then it was really odd too because she didn't talk about her kid at all for the first half, and then the second half, she just kept working her kid in no matter what. It was like she felt shame or guilt about how she hadn't centered her kid, and so she was being really annoying about it. And he straight up told her, like, yeah, it's factoring into my decision as you having a kid, and I'm sorry, but like
It is.
it is.
And she said in the very first thing, she was like, my daughter is like all gung-ho about me having a husband, is like picking up my wedding dress and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like,
She's like, we're a package deal.
clearly not.
Sorry for the whatever, I missed this, but so the hot one is the one with the kid?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you going to be the stepdad?
Yeah, hell yeah. Like
Yeah.
So this is what I'll say. Trevor, when she breaks it off with Trevor, because she has to break it off so she can pick, that's Trevor. She has to break it off so she can pick the other guy. Tell me he wouldn't have been happy to be with her. She fucked that up.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. And she breaks off the other guy, Trevor. He goes, so let me get this straight. You're going for the guy who wasn't sure about you over the guy who's been sure about you this entire time. I just want to be clear.
Read her.
And I felt bad for him because I'm like, oh, you don't know that was the appeal.
Yeah.
That somebody else wanted him and that she won.
Yeah.
And she's going to keep trying to fight to win.
Yeah.
This is like going on these shows. It doesn't matter if you can see what they look like or not. If your picker's off, your picker's off.
If your picker's off, your picker's off.
It doesn't matter if you can see their face or not.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a bad picker, if you're attracted to somebody that you have to take care of, if you're attracted to somebody who's kind of undecided, if you're attracted to somebody who's mean to you, if you're attracted to somebody who's messy, like you're still
It's
going
you.
to pick that.
It's you.
It's that
It's the imago.
it's that like unnamed thing that you're going to think is chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really those patterns.
Literally, we have to have another episode. We haven't talked about that in a long time, too.
But I just thought that was super, super.
Well, it's literally like a social experiment about like unpacking your trauma.
Have you ever been in a triangle?
A love triangle?
Yeah. Like, have you ever wanted a guy more because other women
I've
wanted
never,
him?
ever
Competed for a man.
no.
Have you,
I
Javae?
actually don't think that I've really been. I don't know.
No, I've never competed for somebody. Like when I found out I was in competition, I left them. But I have definitely been more intrigued by someone because they weren't an option.
Yes.
Way more
Yes.
intrigued by someone
Yes,
who wasn't
that.
an option.
Yes,
and
that.
and like more intrigued by somebody who like sleeps around at work than doesn't. Which was like
Yes.
me having to self-check. Like, that's really fucking messy. Why do you
Mhm.
feel like that? Like, why do you
Mhm.
want the guy other people want?
I lied. There is a person I forgot. There is a person I've done that with.
What made you be like, all right, I give up? Did you win?
No, but I didn't care to win. I was fine with how it was. But you mean like did I fight for it?
Yeah.
I've never like fought for a guy. I've just
Yeah.
been like, it just is what it is, or I don't want to be in it.
Yeah. I wasn't a love triangle and I didn't
Except
know
for this
about it
last
with the
relationship.
Valentine's Day thing. And then when I found out, I was out. Because for me, the thing is that like one of the best things about you is how into me you are. So like the whole like fighting for you kind of like kills that very, very
Mhm.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like even with like the guys at work that everybody liked or something, it's like I was making up a story in my head that the obstacle was that we worked together. It wasn't that they didn't like me or like the situation or whatever the thing is. Like as soon as I feel like you're not that into me or like I'm not special, I'm out.
Ooh.
Out. No interest.
Can I ask you guys something on this then? Because you're kind of,
No, you
well,
can't.
first of all, I want to comment. Are we going to comment on this guy's haircut or looks or whatever?
His
like,
mullet?
Are you guys okay
The
with
mullet's
that?
crazy.
The mullet's crazy, but I was struck by the fact that because he's kind of odd looking and quirky, he probably would have been a lot more appreciative of her, what she looked like.
Wow, that figures into your calculations?
It figured into my calculations while I was watching the show. Not for me personally, because
Okay,
I'm very like, you know, I like
Get
how
the
I
best
look, but I
available.
just think that I would rather have a guy who has no idea what he's signing up for that's kind of quirky and weird to see me and be like, oh my God, than the guy who thinks I look like Megan Fox and thinks he's cooler than he is and is like chatting on me a little bit.
It's a turn off.
It's definitely a turn off. It's definitely a turn off.
It's a turn
That's the
off, let
thing
me
is
tell
like
you.
women date down looks wise and then the man doesn't think that the woman's dating down. They're like, I pull this caliber. I see so many women date men uglier than them and the men are not grateful. And the women
Yes.
think
At
that
me.
Yes.
and yeah, that's Rachel. She loves to date an ugly guy. She literally says it. I like ugly
I
guys.
kind of do.
Why? You don't.
My friend Mila says that too. I just think it's so weird. It just blows me away.
It's not always ugly. I just don't like pretty.
No, you like ugly.
Does pretty look effeminate to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
But I think I think there's a way to be medium attractive where you're like still very masculine, but like you're like well groomed, but you're like tall and handsome in your own way. And like I'm not doing chews on rocks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And there's like a lot of girls I'm like, he chews on rocks. Like he looks like Spiegel, like he sits in the corner hunched over.
It's because the height and the body be killing them.
No.
I do have a thing
I
for
think it's
bodies. I don't have a
self-esteem.
thing for faces.
I think
have a
it's
thing for
self-esteem.
bodies.
I
You
think
don't have a thing for faces.
I have a face.
Wow.
I feel like it's a self-esteem issue.
There is. There is
Because
something to
I
that.
feel like women believe they have more power than they do when they think they're way more attractive than the guy. I think they think it plays into like how they would behave, and it doesn't. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Why do they all fall subservient though to it? Because I see that same thing, and it's like you see the guys start like being domineering
But
with them, and
sometimes
it's like,
guys
what the
that look
fuck is
because
going
sometimes
on?
the guys that know they fucking look good or like it's just like it's like it's just not
The ugly guys act
satisfying.
like that too. And you know what ends up
Sometimes.
happening is then you have to win them over because your ego can't handle the fact that an ugly guy is treating you like shit. So you're actually working harder. Whereas the attractive guy, you're like, I anticipated this. That's where the flip happens is like the ugly guy pursues, gets you. And then half of them have bad self-esteem themselves, so they don't respect you as a woman that you would date them. And then it just becomes this whole trickle effect. It's like that thing we were talking about, like, what's the one way to get a piece of shit guy to respect you? Leave him and never speak to him again. If someone treats you like shit, the only way you'll ever get their respect is by not being with them. It's a catch-22. The second you go back with them, you don't have their respect.
'Cause they feel
Sometimes
like,
things
'cause
are
they
just
feel like they
rules.
reeled you back in. That's just what it is.
Well, because you're
True.
dumb.
I don't think that's entirely true. Like, I mean, I've had women who I've dated, you know, where you get on in your like
You
your
respected
hoe
them?
phase. Like you get in your hoe phase, and then you meet like an actual like girl you're more interested in, but you kind of forget that she's not part of the hoe phase of my life, and I'm acting that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then where she'll just quickly kind of like set a boundary, like, no, I don't. I don't know, where they let you know in no uncertain terms that that's not how you can act with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's absolutely been like a correction that I've noted before.
Yes, and I feel like
and
that
I
has to
respect it.
happen really early on.
Yes, no, immediately.
Because I'm talking
Immediately.
about dating. Like, I'm talking about the girls with the boyfriends who cheat on them that think that because they cuss them
Okay,
out,
yeah.
they have self-esteem.
No, if
The
you
guys who
cheat on
don't
them,
work or
yeah.
take care of them themselves and the woman's taking care of them and she thinks because she's mean. Like, there's so many women I know who are verbally just, like, abusive to their partners who are awful in all these ways, and that's how they justify to themselves that they're not a pushover. This guy treats you like shit. He doesn't contribute to your family. He doesn't contribute to your household. He doesn't treat you with respect. He's out here embarrassing you in these streets. But you think because you guys cuss each other out
And get
once
into
a week,
domestics.
and you get into domestics that you ain't no pushover
He's still doing what he wants, babe.
whenever he wants. And it's kind of like when you have a mom who doesn't follow through with consequences. There's so many kids I work with that are like, yeah, like, I'm going to sneak out and I know she's going to find out, but she's going to yell at me and who cares? Like, I'll take that. I'll take getting cussed out because I want to go do what I'm going to do and she's not going to follow through anyways.
Me as a kid.
the same way they treat women.
It is. It is.
I wanted to talk about because how you said how you do get attracted to the guys who are being the scumbag at work and all that kind of stuff, kind of, or like how you're intrigued by it.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So I feel like I came out of
Still
this
me.
divorce, like I've had to, I don't know, like it's something that I've talked about with other guys too,
Mhm.
where you come out of a divorce, that's a horrible relationship and you want to do better. So you try to be very earnest and honest and
Mhm.
like kind of try to do it the right way in your mind
hmm
and realize that I should have just been a fucking dick like I was before because it just works like 1,000 times better.
It
Are
works.
you aware of that as a dynamic for guys?
It is a dynamic for guys, but I think the other thing is like if you were in a shitty marriage and then you haven't done any personal work since the marriage or you haven't reflected on, I don't even mean just therapy, but like reflected on why you became in that marriage, like why you started it, your picker is still going to be off. So you aren't going to pick the woman who appreciates this different version of you. You're going to pick the woman who wanted the previous asshole version of you.
Mhm.
Just a different version of that. Like men also have
Mhm.
to do their work.
Mhm.
It's kind of like I was watching some
That's
podcasts and
very, okay. I like it.
I was watching some podcasts and they were talking about how, I will say this to your credit though, how there's a lot of men who are very sweet in their first or second relationship and that literally gets like beat out of them because of how insensitive and cruel the women they're dating are. Like they're vulnerable, they share their feelings, they share their wants, they share their needs. They pretty much get laughed at or
Mhm.
yelled at or dismissed. And then by the time they get older,
They figured
they're
out the
like
game a little bit.
jaded.
Yeah.
No, jaded. Like, actually, women don't want this. This is bullshit. I tried this earlier. It didn't work. And it's just unfortunate because it's like, damn, you did it at a time where nobody was like emotionally
Yeah.
available.
Just hold on a little bit, sweet boy.
Just hold on
Just
a little bit
sweet
longer.
boy. There's a woman who deserves it in your future.
Like Trevor, after he just gave his all to this woman, he's about to come out here and whore.
Yeah.
But to be rude.
That's my thing when he was first talking. He was talking about himself like he's not ugly.
He looks a lot better in this picture than on the show.
Maybe. I haven't seen him that much on the show.
Looks like he could bite through a rack of ribs.
He said to her, he goes, I have a mullet. And she was like, oh, that's okay. And he's like, well, now I'm questioning your sanity.
Yeah, that's not okay with me.
Anyways,
That's hilarious.
the last thing I really wanted to talk about was this Brene Brown. And I think we really got to get into Brene Brown because
she's
she
such a problem.
is a white woman icon.
She's the white woman icon.
The white lady icon.
Women in general love her. I'm gonna be honest though. Black women also be caping for her. Less and less, I think, as
Mhm.
like we realize her ideas are not like new, not nuanced. She doesn't talk about race. Like,
Well, that's her big criticism is
Yeah.
that she doesn't talk about race.
yeah.
The thing I really like about her, I'm going to be totally honest, is the concepts are really simple and digestible. And then when I hear them, they leave me feeling like I could achieve that easily.
Like you learned something is what it feels
It
like.
feels like you learned something, but it also
Yes.
feels like, oh, a simple change would change my whole life. That's how you leave feeling like, if I just had a better attitude.
It feels like confidence.
Yes.
I agree.
Like, oh, I just have to not sweat the simple things. Oh, I just have to say hard things. Like, it feels like one or two things would change your entire life, which is probably true for a Brene Brown.
Yeah.
But it leaves you feeling, I think, confident in a way that conversations that include race and the system don't. They make you leave, you leave feeling disgruntled, guilty, shameful, sad. There's a lot of negative feelings that come from nuanced conversations. And so her stuff feels good because it's not nuanced.
She wrote this on a Post-it.
I
The
know.
whitest shit I've ever, like, I'm ashamed of you guys.
Just
It's the
wait.
whitest shit in the world.
Just wait. We're gonna
Yeah.
tear her to shreds.
Okay.
Just wait.
When we look away from the pain of any people, we diminish their humanity in our own. So Brene Brown has decided months into this conflict to finally comment. And I've been seeing, first and foremost, I've been seeing a lot of creators and creatives complaining about the fact that people want them to comment on Israel-Palestine. And what I'll say about Brene Brown specifically is that she's a social worker. And so it is her ethical obligation to talk about social justice issues on her platform.
Talk
She's
about
not
it,
a
bitch.
comedian.
Talk about it, bitch.
She's not a singer. And yes, I am disappointed in some of you comedians who I
Mhm.
really looked up to. Not because your point was racist or anti-Islam, but because most of your points were non-points. And I would
Ooh.
just rather you not speak on it than do a weak-ass point. Like, that's
to
kind
the
of...
whole middle of the road, not even middle of the road though. You actually are taking a side type shit.
I would rather you just be like, I'm a comedian, I don't do this, than give a weak point.
Right.
So basically, Brene Brown finally comments on this. How long is it into the conflict? October 7th. So months into the conflict.
And she was like, this is my first time speaking about it, blah, 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 blah.
And her take was basically, what did you get from her take? What was it for you?
The takeaway for me was...
What was she saying about... First of all, she called it Israel-Hamas war.
Which it's not.
It's not a war.
There's a genocide happening.
There's a genocide happening.
It's not a war.
Okay.
What I took away from it, my honest opinion, is that she is...
What was she trying to say?
What she was attempting to say, I think, was that she's middle of the road. She's not taking sides. She cares deeply about both people on both sides. Trying not to qualify all of it, but what I really think. And that she doesn't want people to make comments about Palestine on her posts where she's not talking about Palestine is what I got from it. It was really hard for me to not feel judgmental. I think it's hard for me to
I know, and I think there is a lot of judgment. What I got from it was basically that the brave take is the empathetic take, and the empathetic take is having everyone's side and back.
And the comments... Sorry, go ahead.
And so what she was basically saying is that I'm not going to be bullied into picking a side because I choose humanity. That was her take.
White woman.
And then she included something really irrelevant, and I am going to call it irrelevant.
Please, thank you.
Which is that her mother just died.
It was the epitome of white woman tears.
And she basically said, you guys were saying all of this negative stuff to me about how I wasn't saying anything about Israel-Palestine. And I think she thought she was doing a bomb drop to be like, my mom died. People would feel shame, I think, for passing judgment. I don't. And so she basically said, I had too much going on personally to care about world affairs.
This shit is making me feel better that you're saying this.
Well, that's what was happening.
No, it is. And she totally, her ultimate point was like, don't judge me for just having humanity. Don't judge me for not judging or for trying to, the difficulty is in holding both. The difficulty is in, and white people love to do that non-judgmental, like, I'm not taking a stance because that's harder than picking a side.
Not taking a stance is agreeing with the status quo. That's it. If you don't take a stance, that means that you think what's happening is okay. That's it.
Like, I'm not arguing about it.
No. And what I was seeing is her talking equally about Jewish hate and Muslim hate.
But not equally.
Equally, though, as though they had equal consequences. And I don't think we're just talking about the impact of people talking badly about you on the internet, feeling unsafe on campus, hate crimes or not. Yes, those things are happening in the U.S. and around the world, but they're actually secondary to the genocide that's happening. And that was the part that was really frustrating to me. It's not that they're not valid things that are happening, but they're secondary to an entire group of people being wiped out. And I don't think a lot of people thought this, but there's a whole side of the internet world that knew from the second October 7th happened that...
And we were there. We were on that. We were on that.
Wanted... Yes.
We were on that.
They wanted to wipe those people out. They want to murder or push every single Palestinian out of that area. This was an opportunity.
It was an opportunity.
And now we're seeing what's happening in Rafah, which is basically everybody's at the southernmost point that they could possibly run to and being told to go to, and they are wiping them out.
Bombing them.
They are murdering them.
Hundreds.
They are going into the hospitals and doing missions and the last enacting hospitals, which is probably rounding up all the boys of fighting age and bringing them to fucking prison, I would guess.
Or killing them.
And so she's talking about this in a way as though she's brave for not being forced to take a side.
And the comments underneath are, almost all of them are, I just want to say I'm so sorry for your loss, blah, blah, blah. Addressing her pain first. And then going on to say, I'm so glad you're coming forth with this brave point. It's so much harder to blah, 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 blah. Mind you, if you're smart and you actually read between the lines when you read this, she's literally talking about, I am deeply embedded with the Jewish community.
She says it multiple times.
Multiple times. I'm like, you're literally talking about how much, like, you're in the community and you stand with Jewish people and you do believe in their right to defend yourself. White people only think that when it comes to other white people. When brown people start doing it, they don't give a fuck.
The thing that's really hard for me that I think people don't want to self-reflect on is the reason why this is not an issue for a lot of people is that if we were in this exact position, we would be doing what Israel is doing.
Yeah. That's exactly.
We would be doing what Israel is doing.
No, we're not. No, America's not any
civilized versus non-civilized in their mind.
In their mind it is. And I think I talked about this before, about this notion of like, because we feel like our culture is superior, whether it is or isn't, in your opinion, that's people's justification for not having to be curious about it. It's the undertone is, of course, we don't want those people having their own country. And the thing that was really insidious is she somewhere in there snuck in Iran and basically said Iran is benefiting off of this.
But not the Iranian people.
The Texan was really coming out in her.
The Texan was jumping out.
That's
why she doesn't talk about race or about anything else, because she doesn't give a fuck.
We knew this.
But we knew that. And people are eating this up like it's some radical take. She talks about like being nonviolent. She references a Palestinian person. I think maybe they're just Muslim. I don't know their ethnicity, who is nonviolent. Like
they were saying like the braver choice would be to just not engage in violence. So martyrdom, to die as a martyr.
I'm not even opposed to hearing, like, when people really talk about nonviolence, like I'm interested in the conversation. It's interesting to me. I'm not even opposed to it. But when I hear it like this, like it's weaponized as like better than being violent when you're being oppressed, I don't like that, because it's not nuanced and it's not realizing like white people or governments in general, I won't even say white people, governments in general don't respond to nonviolence all that much. They respond to violence. Violence actually responds to violence. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it's a truth.
I feel like historically though, like I mean, there are cases of that, but it's. I mean, I would be on the violent side personally. Like if it were me.
When do you think?
I don't think there's anything.
You don't think Martin Luther King stuff worked at all, or Gandhi?
No. Gandhi was. Oh no.
Well,
stop.
Okay,
stop.
Hold on.
You don't really think that?
Things. Yeah, he was.
He was.
No, but you really think that like him being a mean that his his starving himself didn't work?
No, I was being a smartass.
So
I don't think it worked because the caste system is still there.
So okay, nonviolence works because it taps into the dominant population's empathy. That's why nonviolence works, right? You're martyring yourself in hopes that
they see your personhood, your humanhood. Yeah.
They see you as a human, and they see that no matter how that even when you're behaving quote perfectly, which is to be submissive to the system, you're still not safe, right? Because that's where we're getting pushback all the time as like the non-dominant race. Is that, like actually if you just fell better into the system, this wouldn't be happening to you. It's not because you're black, it's because you don't behave well in the system, whatever that means, whether you don't have morals, whether you're not a participating lawful citizen, whatever, that's what people use. And so nonviolence is used to demonstrate people who have empathy that those narratives aren't true. Watch me get beat. Watch me not fight. Watch me have all these things happen. I think that's why George Floyd was so impactful for people, because it tapped into empathy. Triggered a lot of empathy.
It did.
The issue is
there is a place for that, like politically.
There is, but also the issue is that nonviolence doesn't. It has to tap into empathy, and it doesn't every time. And if it doesn't, it doesn't work.
And it gets weaponized.
It doesn't work. And then it's so. For instance, in Palestine, I don't think that the general citizens have been violent, and yet they're still being wiped out. Exactly. So nonviolence isn't working.
Right. And there are nonviolent coalitions in Palestine, like still attempting to be that way. Like that is something that's going on, but it's not.
That's a slaughter over there. Like it's not.
Yeah.
And I know that in the U.S. we would be doing the same thing, because could you imagine if a group of indigenous folks on a reservation, somebody from that group attacked
white people, white civilians would go and take care of
the area around. But I'm saying currently,
right.
If it happened now.
Yeah,
if it happened now,
it
would be the same.
To take away their land.
Yep, I was going to say landowners versus or perceived landowners versus perceived non-landowners. Right.
Sick. Like they just need an excuse.
And the thing that's so insidious about what Brene Brown is saying is that I think that, again, it comes across as though a simple change in perception could create safety for people who are marginalized.
And it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. And it's this notion that if we all got on board and changed our perception of how we should behave, that we would be treated as fully human. It's the most gaslighting bullshit ever.
It's the most yellow baby shit fucking comment you could ever have. Like it is seriously, it looks like her opinions is written by a PR firm.
Yes.
Like you just can't even write anything that makes me want to puke more than this. This is white woman pillow shit. White women love fucking phrases on pillows and hung up on their wall in wood.
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah, literally.
I fucking hate that shit. So any black women out there, I'm here for you. Come to me.
He means it. He means it.
The other thing is that white women have been convinced that they are as unsafe as every other minority. It's really hard to say minority for me because you're half the population of the white men, but every other minority or whatever, like they've been convinced that they're equally as unsafe, and it's just not true.
Shit, some of them think they're not the problem for everything.
I mean, I think the thing with white women that's really hard for me is that like they're like white men are the problem, and I'm like, you raised white men. You raised them.
Bars.
You raised them.
Most
you guys
of us
know-
run from them.
Those are your babies.
That's my favorite bar of Javae's. I've heard it before. It's an old time one, but it's one of my favorites. It's a gold star bar.
As the conversation online that was also interesting to me was there was like, well, we get force fed her in grad school. Like grad school, people give these as like teaching texts to talk about like courage and bravery and the ways in which if you're in like a healthy, safe, functional system, all you have to do is find your voice.
I have this is like a crass question. Are you trying to hear about courage from a white woman? I don't even mean it to be like that. I'm really, and I'm not even saying it like it can't be meaningful, but I'm
ready to hear courage from anyone. I think that's the point. That's the thing is that like she's so skillful at making it seem like change is completely within your grasp. Change is completely within your sphere of your world. You have full control over how you feel and what's going on.
Very CBT.
It's very CBT.
Very CBT.
Can I ask you guys a devil's advocate question? Is there ever space for someone to have like a parent dying and just for them to check out a real world?
Totally. We just didn't need to hear about it as an excuse of why you didn't acknowledge it. Just don't acknowledge it if you're not going to do it. It's kind of like what I said about the comedians, you know, and I'm noticing the podcasters and everyone online being so up in arms about don't tell me what to use my platform for. And I just find that to be ridiculous because I think they rely heavily on their fans.
I think
it's not going to save you. It's not going to save you.
It's a really it's not about being afraid of necessary. Well, I mean, of course, there's absolutely fear of what the reaction will be. I think that also this is one where when it's just out and out human tragedy, it's hard to find funny shit about it too. You know, to some degree. Although I have jokes about 9/11. So I don't know.
I think about like when the stuff with the abortion happened and like we lost that right? And how every single comedian had a joke to spin on it. And so I think for me, the hard part is that there are not all, but some comedians prop themselves up as we are the artists who are the truth tellers.
No, for sure.
And they're afraid. It comes across as you're afraid to tell the truth. This is why I'd rather you actually not say anything than give a neutral take. Like, I'd rather you have
You guys have a lot of rules for what people are supposed to say and not supposed to say.
I don't think that's a big rule, though.
I don't think it's a rule.
Brown, I mean, you know, you're kind of dictating like what.
I'm not dictating what you can or can't do. What I'm saying is that, like, I'm judging you for crumbling under your audience opinion.
I'd like to think of a joke for this. But it's like for real. I think it's because it's in real time. Like even the 9/11 jokes that I had were written like after. You know, like...
But like
I don't think you have to comment on it.
Yeah.
I just don't think... If you're going to have an unfunny thing to say that's also not a strong opinion, just don't talk on it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And like the same thing with the Brene Brown thing is like, if what helps you sleep at night as a social worker who doesn't care about social justice is that your mom died and so you were justified, then just hold that in.
Just hold that in.
We don't have to hear that in your post.
But like clearly
you wanted us to feel bad for
you
you that people were saying this, not knowing what was going on with you.
She was having some sort of meltdown over there and was like having like some sort of like people aren't understanding. Like, I mean, like, and justified it in that way.
It's like
nobody asked for that.
It's like the friend who's the asshole or like does something and then they like wait to tell you until after they've been a complete piece of shit for 5 days that something's going on. And you're just like,
I knew it.
Not only did I know it, but I kind of don't care right now.
Yeah.
Like you like save that in your back pocket. That's how I genuinely feel.
Yeah.
The same thing with the Brene Brown thing is like, again, I think it's different because she's a social worker.
Which people forget.
I don't. She talks about it in her TED Talks. I was going to call it her sets. Her TED
Not
Talks.
her sets.
I can't believe I've never thought that
commercial.
a social worker should have comments on society. Like, for whatever reason, I've never made that connection to the larger...
Exactly. You've never thought that because it's overwhelmingly white. It's overwhelmingly white women. and they don't want to, like, they're not in it to be in for social justice.
We take an ethical
Yes.
pledge to do social justice activism outside of seeing clients.
Mhm.
No way.
Yes, we do.
Holy shit.
Exactly.
My mom was a social worker. I never even heard that.
There you go.
She's a white woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know.
Mhm.
We guessed.
I don't know. I got a lot of swag.
And I just the core of it
I
is
got a lot of swag.
the core of it is that I don't think you don't actually have a strong take. You're afraid to say your take because you don't want to ostracize people. And I just think it's annoying.
It
And
is annoying.
to
wimpy.
try to play the middle on this is like reprehensible.
And that's my point
It's
on all of it
reprehensible.
is that, like, if you're going to play the middle, just don't say anything about it.
And my thing is, like, they want to say she might have said fine things about Palestine, right?
She didn't.
She didn't, but she might, like, if you had taken out maybe some of the comments that she made about like Israel, or kind of being like, you know, the events of October 7th, like that type of stuff, lets me know that you don't really get it.
She
If
was
you had-
basically saying the world looked away from October 7th without saying it. That was the undertone of that.
Yeah. Which people love to say without the context of, like, people with critical thinking knew what the fuck was going to happen.
We all knew.
We all knew.
We all knew.
We
They
all
were
knew
in
what
a,
was going to happen.
they're tired of this problem.
Have you guys checked out of this conflict at all, or are you still in it just like you were when we talked about it the first time?
I haven't checked out of it in terms of like mental energy
Yeah.
and thinking about it, but I definitely have been watching less people get blown up on Instagram.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you guys just made me realize. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't been watching that stuff like I had.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it though. I already know what's happening. Like I
Yes.
believe it. I witnessed it. I just am like reading the updates on
I'm
like
okay with just reading
now
about it.
now we're in this section. Now we're pushed this far. Now the only safe place is to go
Yeah.
across the border. Some people are deciding to basically martyr themselves and die on their ancestral land than cross the border.
And kill their
So-
families so they don't get fucking killed and raped by the IDF. Like nuts.
And some people are trying to get out and don't care about being on their ancestral land. They
Mhm.
can't make it because
They
of all
can't
the
go.
shooting. Like it's
Right.
watching that aid's still being restricted coming
nowhere
in.
else is
All the
safe either.
videos of little kids talking about they haven't ate for 3 days.
That little
Is there any science to? I was just thinking of this today because I watched a video on like the Khmer Rouge and the killing fields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
a good one.
like
It's called The Killing Fields, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just
It's phenomenal.
so beyond hideous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to see, and I always, whenever I see that stuff, I always kind of gird myself by saying like, it's your responsibility to see this, to understand that this is what can happen, right? Like if you don't
Yeah.
pay attention. Same thing with Holocaust stuff. Is there any science to like? I watch a bunch of those videos where you see a 6-year-old kid with shell shock, and it's like you just can't be more
They're,
sick.
like,
You can't be,
shaking.
yeah. Is that good for us to see? Like,
I don't think it matters if it's good or not. I think that part of us, it's the age that we live in. I feel like I can see I totally get the argument about like, consuming this much stuff isn't good for us. Consuming it, like, we're not supposed to. We used to not be this like connected in the world. Like, we used to not know what was going on over there. Like, we didn't have to deal with that trauma. It was only the trauma in front of us. And I get that. And now we know. Like now we do have, like, there's a reason we have cell phones. There's a reason we have like this ability to like tap into information. We all want information until like this argument comes up about, do we have to tap into trauma or not? And I think that I recently probably would have like thought differently. And then I started like reading more and just like thinking about it more. And I do feel like it is like
Like an obligation.
and it is like an obligation. Like I have like,
I don't think you have to watch every single
Right.
video. Like I don't watch police brutality videos. Like I never saw
neither,
what happened
yeah.
to George Floyd. Like, but I think to turn away as though it's not happening, I do think that
it's a choice.
it's a choice. I don't necessarily think it's a great choice. I don't know. I feel ethically off about it. I was listening to this podcast on the way here on Amanda Seals' podcast, and her name was like Sherilyn. She was a civil rights activist, and she was having this conversation basically saying like, she was talking to Black people specifically and about how Black people are a minority and we're always going to be a minority. Like we're one of the only minority populations that aren't growing. There's like more Latinos,
more Asians.
more
yeah.
Asians. Like there's not more Black people. Like we're
Really?
not growing. No, we're not statistically growing as a population.
They're fucking these white women. Sorry, I had to get it off.
No, I think a lot of people, their population's going through immigrating
Yeah.
here, and that's not happening at the same, whatever. So we're she was saying basically, like, I think part of your responsibility as a Black person is that, like, you have to be checked in and, like, realistic about the times you're having and continue to fight for civil rights. And she was like, it's almost disrespectful to your ancestors who had to check in, tap in during slavery, Reconstruction, like Jim Crow, that you can't tap into this.
The Rainbow
You can't
fucking
go-
Coalition was around like people from the Appalachians, was around like people from like the Latino community and Black people all coming together because of the poor people stuff going on. Not even because of race, but because we actually all are connected. And that's the thing that I can like get on board with is like at its basis, people always have been coalition building, but now like we don't want to because we're like, we don't want to look at that or we don't want to look at this. And I think also you don't have to consume like media. You can read about it. You can listen to podcasts. Like you don't have to see like visuals. I think we often think we have to see like visuals to get it. You can read the newspaper. You can read whatever you want. Like you can read articles. If like you don't, it doesn't have to be just be like trauma porn necessarily. I think to like understand what's happening in the world.
I'm not whacking off to it, but what about
Lashing yourself, though.
if you that's true.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's any like what I think is when I see those videos that are so visceral and painful, the people I know who are like pro-Israel and stuff, like to me it's like I wish I could make them watch it with an actual open mind, not be going like having their defenses coming up like, yeah, well, they probably did.
This is propaganda.
Just watch it as a human being, right? And like, would that help them, or does it not? I don't know.
Brene Brown used the terminology human shields. That's how I also knew that she
Yep.
was completely not neutral.
Completely not. Oh, she didn't say that.
I will say I think there's validity to what you're
Human
saying, and I'm hearing that like the people who are already on board are the people who are watching and consuming the trauma.
Mhm.
Like we're the ones who are already on board are the
Yeah.
ones watching it.
And we get radicalized by it almost.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
It pushes us farther.
I think that we're also trying to figure out how to manage the level of information we're getting, but I don't think that consuming less information is the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I think maybe the duration, but I think like being like, I'm going to still be on social media 20 hours a day, but I'm just not going to watch anything sad. I still think that's melting your fucking brain.
I think so too. Yes.
So
There's it's not, there's just not a binary. Like you can consume some and take a break.
Yeah.
You can go do, it doesn't mean you can't have fun in your life or you can't enjoy the people in your life, but you're also just aware that there's also real shit happening in the world.
the most privileged take I've ever heard in my life is knowing that there's a problem is the problem. That is so privileged. The problem isn't that it's occurring, it's that we know it's occurring. Not great. Anyways,
Thanks, guys.
Just another light, riveting episode of
It's
just
why they
happiness,
tune in.
joy, and fulfillment
We did another one. We did it
as
for
we
the
show our
people.
true love towards white women.
We love you, white women.
We were both raised by and then pushed out by white vaginas.
Drops mic.
It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking
I like this
your
song.
phone up. Why you messing my
MBC. No relation to NBC.